Psalm 119, Day 23, The Watches of the Night. We'll be reading verses 145 through 152. With my whole heart I cry, answer me, O Lord, I will keep your statutes. I call to you, save me that I may observe your testimonies. I rise before dawn and cry for help. I hope in your words. My eyes are awake before the watches of the night, that I may meditate on your promise. Hear my voice, according to your steadfast love, O Lord, according to your justice, give me life. They draw near who persecute me with their evil purpose. They are far from your law. But you are near, O Lord, and all your commandments are true. Long have I known from your testimonies that you have founded them forever. Our thoughts today center around verse 148. My eyes are awake before the watches of the night, that I may meditate on your promise. Perhaps you have heard this often quoted. Early to bed, early to rise makes a man healthy, wealthy, and wise, from Benjamin Franklin. The benefits of being an early riser are well known. Many successful people have this common habit. They get up early. We all have the same 24 hours, but there's just something about getting up early to take on the day that sets things right. Still, when you look at what is written about good habits these days, seldom will you find this habit listed near the top, and perhaps not at all on the list. Sure, good nutrition, exercise, positive thinking, and the like share the list of many. Yet, being an early riser may not be found in that list. It is typical for people to classify themselves as morning people or night people. That is to say, you either have peak performance in the morning or evening, generally speaking. Once that mindset is locked in, there is very little that can change one's ways. Regardless of whether we are morning or evening people, more than likely we do have day jobs, though. Often being a night person leaves a feeling of sluggishness in the morning. The psalmist tells of his eyes being awake before the watches of the night. A more accurate rendering reads, before the morning watch. The watches of the night were divided into 3 4-hour segments, roughly 6 in the evening to 10, 10 to 2, and then 2 to 6. He was an early riser. He rose before dawn. 2 verses in a row herald his early rising habit. In verse 147 he writes, I rise before dawn and cry for help. I hope in your words. And continues on with verse 148. My eyes are awake before the watches of the night, that I may meditate on your promise. But it wasn't just a circadian rhythm thing. It wasn't just a habit of highly effective shepherds. His delight was to rise early to meditate on God's word, translated here in the English Standard Version as promise. John Wesley, a preacher from the 1700s, was a staunch early riser and made it a habit of rising at 4 a.m. each morning to begin the day with prayer and Bible study. Tucked away in the descriptions of great men and women is their propensity to rise early. Listen to some descriptions of early risers in the Bible. David tells us in Psalm 5, O Lord, in the morning you hear my voice. In the morning I prepare a sacrifice for you and watch. We find that in verse 3. David commanded the Levites, who no longer had charge to tend the tabernacle and moving it, to stand every morning and evening, thanking and praising the Lord in 1 Chronicles 23:30. Consider what Job would do for his children. We find, and when the days of the feast had run their course, Job would send and consecrate them. And he would rise early in the morning and offer burnt offerings according to the number of them all. For Job said, it may be that my children have sinned and cursed God in their hearts. And thus Job did continually. Job chapter 1 and verse 5. But perhaps our greatest examples are the Lord himself, who prayed and taught early in the morning, as the following verses tell us. In Mark chapter 1 and verse 35 we find, and rising very early in the morning, while it was still dark, he departed and went out to a desolate place, and there he prayed. And again in John chapter 8 and verse 2, early in the morning he came again to the temple. All the people came to him, and he sat down and taught them. Do you rise early to greet the Lord? And Lord willing, we'll meet again tomorrow.